Hello gardening friends, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I am going to be planting up a hedge of lavender. As you can see beside me, I have a tray of lavender. I have another tray over on the porch that doesn't look as good. I actually put all the really good looking ones in this tray, which I'll give you a closer look at here in a second. But yeah, so I'm planting a hedge of lavender today. I cannot express how excited I am. I have literally waited years to be able to plant a hedge of lavender. Years. And the only thing that was really stopping me was that I couldn't find any lavender starts that were affordable, and I was also renting, so I was trying to save that gardening budget for when we bought a house. I have to keep stopping because of the cars behind me, unfortunately, so hopefully this intro doesn't look too crazy. But earlier this season, I was able to get my hands on an entire tray of lavender for, I think it was $42, which isn't too bad. It was 18 plants. But like most of us gardeners, I didn't have a place to put them yet. So they've sat on my porch all season in, upwards of 100-degree weather. So some of them are looking a little bad, but I'm hoping once I get them in the ground, they do better. As you know, if you've been following the channel, the person that owned this house before put 6 to 8 inches of rock in the 3 flower beds around the house. So it's taken us quite a while to get all of those rocks emptied out, but we finally got the front bed emptied out of all of the rocks. Well, most of them. Underneath the landscape fabric, there was actually many more rocks. This house actually burnt down a few years ago, and it looks like they didn't remove any of the bricks, any of the glass, any of the screws, or anything. So we've had to be extremely careful emptying these rocks out. So it's taken quite a bit of time. But I literally can't wait any longer. For one, because it's getting cold out, and for two, I'm just ready to get this hedge in the ground. The type of lavender I chose was Munstead lavender, and one of the reasons I chose this is it is said to also be a good cut flower. So I thought that while looking good in the landscape, I could also use a few for my arrangements if need be. And by the way, guys, this stuff smells so good. I've always wanted it to have lots of fragrant flowers in my gardens so that I can walk out in the morning or in the afternoon and just be smacked in the face with all of these scents. And either at the end of the video or throughout the video, I will talk more about the lavenders, like more specifically about how I am planting it, how I'm fertilizing it, and some other uses for the lavender that I plan on using them for. So before we lose any more daylight, let's get started. Oh, strong boy. Good job. Oh, there was a bunch of centipedes under that rock. Look at him with his hands on his hips. Look, bub, look at all those centipedes. So that is obviously where the 4 bushes, root balls were. There are still a lot of rocks in the dirt, so that kind of stinks. But what we're going to do is just build this up with several inches of compost, and hopefully whenever I am, digging to plant something, I don't run into too many rocks. That is one thing that I've dealt with everywhere I've lived, but especially here since this house burnt down. There are just a ton of pieces of brick and rock, and then of course the decorative rock that has mixed in. We were able to get most of it out fairly easy though, since there was landscape down first. It wasn't as bad as the other bed on the side of the house. But we are going to go along the edge here with a shovel and make this a nice clean line, and then we'll build the rest up with compost and be able to start planting. Is it loud? Alright guys, so I couldn't do it I didn't want to just band-aid the problem, basically like the previous owners did, by just covering up all the rubbish that's in these beds and all of the rocks. So I decided to have my husband till it again, and then I picked out all of the rocks on the surface, and then I used a metal rake and like roughed up, kind of like scored the dirt after it dried, and that helped to like re-release some more of the rocks under the surface. And then done that again. I would get the rocks out and then just keep roughing it up and getting the rocks out. And then I did that until I really didn't see any more pieces of glass or nails or anything like that, and I got the majority of the rocks out. It's very difficult to explain my soil texture, but it's kind of clay-like, but at the same time it's very Play-Doh-y. So if it's dry, then it's hard as a brick, but it's usually never dry because we get 66 inches of rain per year, so it almost always has moisture in it, and so it turns into like dried out Play-Doh or like dried out peanut butter. You can smash it and mold it, but it doesn't crumble apart. So letting the soil dry out and roughing it up with the rake was beneficial, because then I could tell the rocks apart from just the clumps of dirt. Because when you till or dig with a shovel, it just kind of stays in like clumps, and sometimes it can be hard to figure out if it's a rock or a piece of dirt. And there are still a lot of rocks, as you will see, but it's 100 times better than it was. Although this ended up taking me a whole lot longer than I planned, and it was time that I really didn't have, I feel so much better that I'd done it correctly instead of just covering up the problem by putting compost over the top of it. Alright, so you can see here I have all of my holes dug. It looks like I have 2 rows there, but I kind of started going a little crooked and had to fix that. I decided to plant these about 14 inches apart. If you're just planting these in a flower bed, then you may want to put them about 18 inches away to give them plenty of, air and space. But since I want these to be grown in a straight hedge, and I want them to grow, completely together to where it just looks like one row, one line of, lavender. I don't want there to be any space in between them. I chose to do 14 inches. Some are even a little closer to 12 inches apart. Now, back to why I chose the Munstead lavender. Some of the benefits are Munstead lavender is said to retain its color and scent very well compared to some of your other lavenders. Another reason I chose Munstead lavender is it is said to retain its color and scent very well when dried. Dried bouquets are something that's really coming back in style, and I would like to make some myself. And then also, if one day I decide I want to offer something than just dried bouquets, maybe I want to do, little herb sachets. I think that's how you pronounce it. They are said to be a very good variety for doing things like that. And then the last reason I chose this variety is it is said to be able to withstand a little bit more heat and humidity than other varieties. I live in southern Indiana, zone 6B, and we have an average of around 70% humidity. A lot of days during the summer it's closer to 80. And so I thought that this variety would maybe hold up a little bit better, and I would deal with less things, like diseases or fungal issues or, powdery mildew or anything like that. So again, I planted these about 12 to 14 inches apart, and then I planted them about 1 foot higher than they previous were in their little containers. That way, whenever I add the compost, they will not be buried under the compost. They will be level with the compost. I'm still waiting for my husband to get a truckload of compost for me. That should be added within the next day or 2. And then that's also going to help with all of the rain that we get here in southern Indiana, for them not to be sitting in a puddle of water every time it rains. I think that's all that I wanted to cover in this video. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, I would love if you would give it a thumbs up. But I will talk to you guys in the next one. Good job. Is it heavy? Good. I actually put all the good looking ones over here in this tray, but yeah, so I am planting a hedge of lavender today. Yeah, so I'm planting a hedge of lavender.